A long time ago, there was an old man. He stood in front of a very large audience, similar to the way we are here today. And he told them, "Choose today whom you'll serve. As for me and my house, you get an A+. Good job. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." There are two things you need to take from this passage. There are two things you need to get your arms around. The first one is easy. Everybody knows this one. It says, "As for me and my house, we will serve God." But there's a second thing you need to take from this passage. A second thing you need to get your arms around. Most people, they miss it. It says this: "Choose today." The speaker did not say, "Wait for tomorrow to make your decisions." The speaker did not say, "Wait for next week before you begin to decide." He told them, "Choose today." Leo ni leo. Imagine you're in the arms of the one you love. And you can feel the warmth of the body. And your heart is racing. And you're thinking to yourself, "Me, I want to do it. My best friend tells me this person loves me. This person wants to do it. I want to do it. I don't know. What am I going to do? Am I going to do it? I don't know. What am I going to do?" If you wait for tomorrow to make your decisions, I can promise you, you will make the wrong decision. Choose today who you are. Do not wait for fire to find you and then you try to make your decision. "I don't know. What am I going to do? Am I going to do it? I don't know. What am I going to do?" As for me, my mother named me Gregory. And then she cut it short, a nickname, Greg. Me, I'm a teacher at a high school in Kenya. It's called St. Mary's Boys Secondary School. I teach computers. When the day is over, I close the computer lab and I enter the field and I teach basketball. You see, God has put it in my heart to be a teacher. No matter where I go, I find myself teaching. The reason I'm in Kenya is because I love the Word of God and I teach God's Word. I've been around the world. I've ever been to Mandela Land, South Africa. I've ever been to Tanzania, Uganda. I've ever been to the UK. I've seen Germany, France. I was born here in America. Everywhere I go, I've found one thing to be true. Women control the world. It's true. I see some guys out there, they have a question. "I don't know, Greg. Our president is a man." Allow me to explain to you, women control the world. A woman has what a man desires. A man desires a woman. And as long as a woman keeps herself pure, she stays in control. But when a woman gives her body away, she loses control. In all the cultures I've been to in the world, there are only two kinds of culture in the world today. The first kind of a culture is a culture where a woman saves herself for marriage. Two things happens to a woman who saves herself for marriage. Number one, these women get respect. People in a community respect the woman who's saving herself for marriage. The second thing that happened to these women, men marry these women. A man desires for himself a virgin girl. And a man is more than happy to marry the girl who has saved herself just for him. Unfortunately, there's another kind of culture in the world today. A culture where women are desperate and they say, "Take me now." Two things happens to a desperate girl who gives her body in a high school. Number one, these women get infected. There are more than enough STDs in the world today to infect a desperate girl who gives her body in a dating situation. The second thing that happened to these women, men are more than happy to take advantage of a desperate girl. Kumba, you ladies didn't know? We guys, we can smell a desperate woman. I can see a desperate girl 100 meters away, and a man is more than happy to take advantage of a desperate girl. Choose today who you are. Do not wait for fire to find you and you try to make your decision. I don't know, am I going to do it? I don't know, what am I going to do? I can promise you, you'll make the wrong decision. Today I've come to talk to you about opposite sex relationships, dating, coupling. But before we get into that, we need to build a foundation. Before they ever laid a brick in this very nice facility here, they first dug down and they built a foundation. The first thing I want to talk to you today about in our foundational material is peer pressure. You're going to have to put that in your brain, your computer. Peer pressure. Peer pressure is an outside force that is applied to you. This is not something that comes from within you. It is an outside force that is applied to you. Peer pressure is going to ask you to do something you would not ordinarily do. One time at a school in Kenya, I had a student ask me, "Greg, how do you avoid peer pressure?" Avoid peer pressure? I am 60 years old. I still feel peer pressure. I'm not asking you to be a coward and run from peer pressure. I'm not asking you to be a person of fear and hide from peer pressure. I'm asking you to be a man of strength, a woman of integrity, someone who can stand in the face of peer pressure and say, "I am who I am, and I will not bow down to your peer pressure." I'm not asking you to be a coward and run. I'm not asking you to be a person of fear and hide. Stand in the face of your friends and tell them, "I will not do what you want me to do." The next thing I want to talk to you about in our foundational material is conformity. Conformity. Yes. I have with me here a bottle of water. Interesting physical principle about water. Water is weak, and it conforms to the shape of its container. If I were to take the bottle and turn it upside down like this, immediately the water conforms to the shape of the bottle. Look, look, look. Immediately the water takes the shape of the bottle. If I were to pour the water out of this bottle and I put in here for me a rock, would the rock take the shape of this bottle? What if I took the bottle and I turned it this way? Would the rock then take the shape of the bottle? You see, they called Jesus Christ the Rock because Jesus Christ would not bow down to your peer pressures. Jesus, come here and say this. Jesus, come here and do for us a miracle. Jesus knows who he is, and he's not going to bow down to your peer pressure. 3 ways that you and we conform. We conform in 3 ways. The first kind of a conformity is the physical conformity. One day at church, our youth, they like to sing, so they meet on Saturdays for singing. In Kenya, ladies are not allowed to put braids in their hair. But during the breaks, they rush home from school and they put braids in their hair. And so this was during one of the school breaks. A girl came to our youth meeting, singing practice on Saturday, and she had put these braids in her hair. And she looked good. Me, I didn't think anything. I went home. Next Saturday, we all met for practice. Every girl in the youth group had lines, braids in her hair. They were conforming, a physical kind of conformity. At the school where I teach, the boys' school, one guy had come to school. He had taken his trouser and he had sagged his trouser down like this, and he was walking around like this. By the second class, 20 other students had taken their trouser. They had pulled their trouser down and they're walking around like this. They were physically conforming to the fashions of the world around them. A physical kind of conformity. The second kind of conformity is a conformity of thought. You've ever heard a politician, you turn on your TV, your radio, you hear a politician, and he's telling everybody to think the way he thinks politically. And the last kind of conformity is a conformity of spirit. You see, me, I'm a Christian. I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and I'm ever trying to conform to the Spirit of God. I want to be loved the way God is loved. I want to do good to my neighbor the way I'd want my neighbor to do good to me. 3 ways you and I can conform. A physical kind of conformity, a conformity of thought, and a spiritual conformity. The next thing that I want to talk to you today about is identity. Put in your computer, identity. Identity talks about who you are. When I introduced myself, I told you my name. I am Greg. That is a large part of my identity. But I didn't stop there. I went further to identify myself, and I told you I am a teacher. If I were to come and shake your hand, the first thing you would do is identify who you are. You would tell me your name. You might tell me something about you. Greg, I'm the captain on the football team. Greg, I'm the president of the math club. You would identify who you are. Those of you who don't have an identity, or you have a low identity, you are at great risk to peer pressure. If you don't know who you are, peer pressure is going to find you and it's going to beat you like you're a nail. Twah, 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 twah. Let me get this scripture here. James chapter 2 says, faith without actions is dead. Do not bring me your identity, and your actions do not match your identity. We call these people hypocrites. There are 3 things influencing your identity and who you are. I call these the 3 P's. Put that in your computer. The 3 P's. The first P are your parents. Your parents have great influence over who you are. In my house, my grandfather on my mother's side came to visit. He smoked cigarettes. He stayed for 2 weeks and he went back home. He forgot a pack of cigarettes on the table. My brother found those cigarettes. Mom, hey Mom, can Greg smoke a cigarette? Me, I don't understand the wisdom of my mother. It is beyond my years. She answered, yes. My brother took a cigarette and he put it in my lips, and he took a match, psst, and he said, Greg, when I put the fire to the end of this cigarette, I want you to inhale as hard as possible. I was 6 years old. My brother put the fire to the end of that cigarette, and I drew as hard as I could that black, thick soot full of tar and nicotine deep into my soft, pink lungs. My body completely rejected the poison I was feeding it. My mother, she had a very difficult task in front of her. 1 year later, when I came home from elementary school, my mother had to tell me, your grandfather is dead. My grandfather died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes. And my mother, she got down in my face and she said, Greg, our family, we don't smoke cigarettes. They killed our grandfather. So the next day on the way to elementary school, I'm going to school and I'm telling myself, our family, we don't smoke cigarettes. They killed our grandfather. My mother gave me an identity. I don't smoke cigarettes. They killed my grandfather. Now, when I went to high school, it was easy. I have never suffered from the peer pressure to smoke a cigarette. Hey, Greg, you want to smoke a cigarette? No, thank you. You go right ahead. Here, I'll light it for you. Not me. I got to witness my best friend enter the world of cigarettes. He took a cigarette and he put it in his lips and he said, just a minute. No, I'm going to be okay. No, really, I'm going to be all right. His body completely rejected the poison he was feeding it. And my eyes could not believe what I saw next. For a second time, my best friend took that cigarette and he forced his body to receive the poison he was feeding it. He so desired to be among the popular people at school. He so desired to be accepted by the other boys. Choose today who you are. Do not wait for fire to find you and then you try to make your decision. I don't know. Am I going to do it? I don't know. What am I going to do? I can promise you, you'll make the wrong decision. The second P that greatly influences our identity and who we are your peers, your classmate, your age mate. They have great sway over who you are. At school where I teach, there's the lunch hour, and then there's a class. Well, lunch doesn't take an hour. So there's a 40-minute preparation class after lunch where the students are unsupervised in their classroom. We teachers were back in the staff room preparing our next lesson. One time, I was bored, and so I was walking around the school. I entered a classroom. On this side of the classroom, next to the door, were a group of 10 students. They had pulled their desks tight. One student wanted to read. The other 9 wanted to beat stories and make noise. The one person who wanted to read said, Ebba, what is 3 cubed? And the other 9 answered him, did you hear what happened in town over the weekend? Me, I'm not even supposed to be there. I walk across to the other side of the room, next to the windows. I found another group of 10 boys had pulled their desks tight. One boy wanted to beat stories and make noise. The other 9 students wanted to read. The one student who wanted to make noise said, hey, did you guys hear what happened in town over the weekend? The other 9 answered him, what is 3 cubed? Me, I'm not even supposed to be there. I leave. 40 minutes later, I entered that same classroom. Do you know what I found? This one boy who wanted to study is now beating stories with the other 9. I went across the room next to the windows. This one boy who wanted to make noise and tell stories, he's now reading with the other 9. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Your peers have a great influence over who you are. Your friends will determine how far and how high you go in life. And to be quite honest, many of our friends are holding us down. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And for many of us, it's time we begin to choose new friends. The third P that identifies who we are, who influences who we are, is the public media. Social media, the news. Take care, beware, danger! What you feed yourself. You've ever gone home, you've turned on the TV or the radio? The news commentator, the person that tells us the news at the end of the day, he'll say something like this. That person said this, and that person is a bad man. And we think to ourselves, that person said that, and that person's a bad man. And for some reason, we believe anything the social media tells us. Take care of the 3 Ps. They have huge influence over who you are. In Kenya, we have a TV program that's indigenous to Kenya. It's called Tahiti High. And it's a story of a high school and the students in that high school and the drama that goes on among the students. And one time they had a program of a girl named Cindy who is surrounded by all her friends. Everybody was smoking a cigarette but Cindy. In case you didn't know about people who smoke cigarettes, they are good people. Yes, they want to share their cigarette with you. You see how good they are? They offered Cindy a cigarette, and Cindy said no. But her no was a weak no. So they began to peer pressure Cindy. They called her a chicken. A chicken is an animal of fear. A chicken doesn't have any offensive weapons. If you want to compliment somebody, call that person a lion. Hey, that guy's got courage of a lion. He's strong. They called Cindy a chicken. Still a mommy's girl? Does mommy still dress you in the morning? Want to go home and ask mommy if you can smoke a cigarette? Cindy changed her no into a yes. And she forced her body to receive that poison she was feeding it. Tahiti High, they did a great job of showing us the effects of peer pressure. But they didn't stop there. They did even better. They showed us how a soft drug leads to a hard drug, leads to a hard drug. You see, by the end of the program, Cindy was smoking marijuana. Tahiti High, you lied to us, Tahiti High. You do not enter the world of drugs and continue life as normal. Ha! But today, if you go to Tahiti High and you turn on your TV, Cindy is still there. Ha! We had a young man in my youth group in Nyeri, Kenya. He started to smoke marijuana. Instant popularity. Everyone was talking. Hey, have you heard he's smoking bang? He's smoking marijuana. He liked that attention. So he thought he would continue to smoke marijuana. Marijuana has a chemical element in it, a THC. It locks down a person's ability to memorize. It destroys the brain. By the time this guy finished his year, he was number 0 in his class. You didn't know 0 was a number also. I don't know why his teachers promoted him. Maybe they felt sorry for this guy. He went to the next grade. He started stealing his own school fees to buy more marijuana. This boy never completed high school. You do not enter the world of drugs and continue life as normal. I mean, Tahiti High, they're just a TV program. They can't show you reality. They did a good job to show us the effects of peer pressure. They did even better, and they showed us how a soft drug leads to a hard drug, but they can't show you reality. For Tahiti High to have shown you reality, they would have had to gone to the actress who plays Cindy and said, "You're fired." They can't do that. Give me a time check. How much time do I have left? 7 minutes. Dr. James Dobson, he's a doctor in psychology. He studies human behavior. This is not a doctor that would cut you in the operating room. He's a doctor who studies human behavior. He tells a story of 10 students. He put 10 students in a room and he said, "I want to study your vision. How well do you see from there? I'm going to take a card. I'm going to put the card on the board. On the card are 3 lines, line A, line B, and line C. When I point to the line, that's the longest line, you raise your hand, and that way I'll know you can see from where you're seated." Do you understand? Oh, yeah. No. Let me explain it again, because I don't want there to be any confusion. And that's what the doctor did. He explained it again. Now, before I tell you the rest of the story, I got to tell you a secret. There's a secret to the story. Before the 10 students entered the room, the doctor called 9 of the students aside. "Hey, guys. Hey, come over here. You see that one boy over there? We're really going to make fun and enjoy that boy. We're going to prank that boy over there. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you to raise your hand when I point to the longest line on the board. But the 9 of you, no, don't do that. When I point to the second longest line on the board, the 9 of you raise your hand and we'll really prank that guy over there. Do you understand? Oh yeah, let's do it." They enter the big room. All 10 students are seated around the room. The doctor puts a card on the board. There are 3 lines on that card. Line A, line B, and line C. The doctor points to the shortest line on the card. Nobody raises their hand. The doctor points to the second longest line on the card, and 9 students very confidently raise their hand. The 10th boy cannot believe his eyes. I know that is not the longest line on the card. And do you know what this 10th boy did? And he raised his hand. Okay, put your hands down. I've got another card. The doctor takes the first card off the board and puts up a second card. On the second card are 3 lines. Line A, line B, and line C. Time and time again, card after card, this boy raised his hand when he knew he was not supposed to. Everybody else is doing it. That is the effects of peer pressure. Peer pressure is going to come to you and ask you to do something you would not ordinarily do. Choose today who you are. Do not wait for peer pressure to find you and then you try to make your decision. I don't know. Am I going to do it? I don't know. What am I going to do? I can promise you, you'll make the wrong decision. Life is like a battery. There's a positive and there's a negative. Peer pressure can be bad, but peer pressure can also be good. If all your friends are smoking and drinking in your high school, you would be very unwise to bow down to such bad peer pressures. If all your friends are having sex in high school, you would be very bad to bow down to such bad peer pressures. But peer pressure can be good. If you go to school and all your friends are reading the Bible, it would be very wise of you to bow down to such good peer pressures and study the Word of God. If all your friends are buying new suits and wearing a white dress and they're getting married, you would be very wise to bow down to such positive peer pressures. You too should demand that I am going to get married. Peer pressure can be bad, but peer pressure can also be good. At church, in our youth group, we have this girl named Caroline. Whee! Hey, this girl is hot. Caroline. Oh. Caroline's not in church anymore. She went to university. Everywhere Caroline goes, she has a line of men following her. Caroline, Caroline, date me, Caroline. Go on a date with me. This girl is in demand. Guys are chasing her. Why is Caroline in demand? Caroline is a virgin. And she chose a day. And she said, I am going to save myself for the man who marries me. Not for the man who loves me a whole lot. No. Not for the man who promises me marriage. No. I'm going to save myself for the night of my wedding. And today she's in demand. Guys are chasing her. Guys desire a virgin, and she's put herself in a very good position. Choose today who you are. We're going to bring our program to an end right there. You guys have been a wonderful audience for me. Thank you very much for coming. That's the end of our program, and we're going to dismiss. In fact, can I invite you up? And you, yes?
There'll be 5 more minutes. That was the first all stuff you want to do.
Oh, there are 5 more minutes? Oh, yes. Let's talk about drugs. This is not a difficult topic for me. We're just going to spend like 5 minutes on this. I don't have a lot to say about drugs. One day I went to the internet and I typed in the word drugs. Wow, information overload. There's so much material out there about drugs. I gathered all that information about drugs and I threw it away. I did not come here with anything of that material. I've come today with one idea. And if you can get your arms around this one idea, you will never suffer with drugs. Never suffer with drugs if you can get your arms around this one idea. Are you ready? What are the goals of a 6-year-old? What are the dreams of a child who's 6 years old? Mommy, 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 when I grow up, I want to be a prostitute. Is that the goal of a 6-year-old? Mommy, 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 when I grow up, I want to be addicted to marijuana. Is that the goal of a 6-year-old? If it is not the goal of a 6-year-old to grow up to be a prostitute, why then, you must ask yourself, do we have prostitutes in our community today? Why? If it is not the goal of a 6-year-old to grow up to be addicted to marijuana, why then, you must ask yourself, do we have people in our community today who are smoking weed? Why? The answer is easy. The answer is peer pressure. No one would ever enter the world of drugs were it not for peer pressure. I'm going to make a promise to every high school student in this room. I promise you, in your very near future, in fact, for some of us, it's already happened. I promise you, in your very near future, someone is going to come to you and they're going to offer you the opportunity to have sex. Come, let us explore one another's body. Come, let us indulge in sexual intercourse. Choose today who you are. Do not wait for fire to find you and then you try to make your decision. I don't know, am I going to do it? I don't know, what am I going to do? I can promise you, you'll make the wrong decision. I want to talk to you about the drug supplier, the person who sells marijuana, the drug supplier. My sister married a doctor. They invited my sister to a doctor's meeting, a seminar for doctors and doctors' wives. Do you know what they told her? The most likely people in a community to become addicted to drugs are doctors, doctors' wives, and the children of doctors. No, Greg. Greg, doctors are good people. Oh, have you ever heard of the good doctor? Greg, you must have got confused. They went on to tell my sister, to explain to her, the business of doctors is medicine. That's what they do. People who manufacture drugs, they go to a doctor and they say, here are some free samples. Take these free samples and pass them out to your patients. It will help promote our new medicine. It's called extra strength. Yes. The doctor takes these home to his wife and says, here. The wife says, what am I supposed to do with these? The doctor says, I don't know. What are we supposed to do with these? The baby starts crying. Oh, here, baby. Take this medicine. Oh, does your stomach hurt? Take this medicine. Oh, do you have a headache? Take this medicine. And before you know it, the doctor and the doctor's wife are handing out medicine like it's candy. And the most likely person in a community to become addicted to drugs are doctors, doctors' wives, and the children of doctors.